Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Serious Strategy Gamer and we are returning to Hearts of Iron for the new Man the Guns expansion. In this new expansion we want to find out how well torpedoes will be doing, and to that end we are building up Japan to be a super naval swarm technology power and see what that does against the US Navy once we do get into war against them. So we are picking up again a year about after I last left you, and I just want to talk about these things that happened in the meantime, talk a little bit about what happened in Europe, and then after that, of course, share some very exciting news about the new technologies that we have, and have a jump at the naval designer and get something very exciting going, I think. So let's start out with Japan. So last time we did conquer mainland China, so the main Chinese fraction, we did go ahead and declare war against a couple of other people. So firstly, Communist China, which was up here. That was a pretty tough fight. We had to cross this river, we had to fight against these fortifications, and it took us, I think, about 35,000 men to really conquer that. But since then the communist insurgents have stopped, and that's a very good thing for us. We also took over Yunnan, which was a much easier fight. I think we barely lost 1,000 men in doing that. Which is nice because it does allow us to take some resources on the map over here. We should be developing these resources right now, and that will give us some aluminium, which will be very helpful for us. We're also right now fabricating against the Gangxi clique, and I expect that to be a very easy fight for us, but we'll have to see. That does take a couple of days. Lastly, after the France collapse in Europe, we did take over French Indochina, so basically Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, this region. And you can also see that we are building up some radar installations. We did build up the airbase down here pretty strongly, primarily so that we can have coverage of this region once the war once we enter the main World War, basically. We're also building up quite a couple of radar stations along our island chains, including some on the home islands. Basically so that we have better naval overview and that we can steer our fleets towards the enemy a little bit better. And I think at some point we'll probably be building up something up here against the Soviet Union. But for now all of our construction is basically busy building up these radar installations and this airbase. So that is fine, and pretty much it actually for the war on mainland Japan. In terms of what happened in Europe is very exciting, of course. We left about a year ago, and that was in August 1939. Historically, 1st of September was the date when Germany declared war on Poland. In the game they usually do that a couple of days early, and they did that in this iteration as well. Conquered Poland pretty quickly and then took over France in the same year. So in winter 1939 they did win against France, against the Low Countries, so Netherlands, Belgium and Luxembourg, and that was very nice. Even Italy did their part and did advance into France on the Côte d'Azur, and well, basically they contributed to their collapse, let's say. However, there are some very concerning news in Europe as well. So firstly, let's have a look at Norway up here. So the Germans did declare war against Denmark and Norway sometime in early 1940, and they still haven't, even through all the summer, or even in winter they might have declared war over here, and they still haven't managed to take Norway out. They landed down here, they did advance towards Oslo, but weren't quite able to take that for a very long time, and I think they just now really conquered Oslo, and that does mean that they suffered from quite some bad supply. You can see some of them are adapted to winter actually. So yeah, but right now they seem to be making a little bit more headway, but they are still struggling to make too many inroads. You can see even the Ski Jäger division up here is suffering from quite a bit of attrition and low organization. So I'm not too sure why that happened. Whether there was any naval thing, whether it was a glitch of the AI, whether they just had bad luck, I don't know, but it is concerning to me because they are pushing up much more slowly over here than expected. Also, Italy did lose Africa and lost that very soundly, which I did find very discerning. And the main reason for that is actually that Free France has joined the war against the Axis, of course, and Vichy France has actually joined the war against the Allies. So that means Vichy France is already in the war and is actively participating in the war against Free France. That I think triggered this area to be under Free French control, and that meant that Italy was a bit squeezed in between two a rock and a hard place basically, and did lose. I do hope that that is not a sign of any naval activity on the British side. The British actually did manage to take Sardinia for a while, and you can see it's probably still damaged over here in terms of infrastructure. Also, an interesting factor is that Yugoslavia has so far been staying neutral again in the big war. However, they did declare their own war against Bulgaria, so that's very interesting because we don't know whether the Germans will in fact attack Yugoslavia soon. If they do, they will probably be facing off very empty front because Bulgaria Yugoslavia is busy dealing with Bulgaria. Also somewhat interesting, I should also mention the reason I can see all of that is because I did send a military attaché to Germany so that we can participate some of the army experience, some of the navy experience, and so on. So yeah, I think that was a good choice. Also, interestingly enough, Germany has put a lot of new resources into Africa. Not into Northern Africa, mind you, but into this region. And they are fighting the Free French and Brits over here, and I really have no idea. Ooh, interesting, Venezuelan expeditionary forces. I've no idea why they're doing that. They seem to be doing good in organization, but I'm really interested to see whether they'll be very productive down here. Hopefully, of course, Germany will declare war against the Soviet Union at some point, because otherwise we will be in a lot of trouble. It is somewhat unfortunate that the British weren't hemmed in more strongly. Right, so that is the war in a nutshell. Ooh, there's a naval combat in this area. I mean, some units must be still captured in the Baltic. Some allied units. Oh well, we'll have to see. We have very limited intel on that. So, going back to Japan, we weren't lazy. We did research quite a couple of things, and in particular, in the naval tab, of course. But let's start with something else. We did go for the Type 2 20mm anti-air guns, because these anti-air guns do contribute to naval stuff. You can put anti-air guns on the on your naval designs. So yeah, that is very important, and indeed extremely important. Also very important is the engineering tab, because, well, I made a mistake here in that I didn't research a radar soon enough. So we are doing that now. We are just catching up to the 1940 technology, but it's still 150 days left, so I don't want to wait for that anymore. But it is important to research these things because they do give you surface detection, or you can put a radar dish on your ships that does give you surface detection, it does give sub detection. It does cost a little bit, but it might be worthwhile in some regards. Also important, the fire control system, which is there for for ships basically. And there's one thing I find peculiar, this graphic down here. So the advanced fire control system, to me it looks like it's in 1941 technology. It isn't. This one's actually in 1940 technology. I could research that without suffering from any ahead of time penalty, which, well, I honestly don't think should be the case. At any rate, it is the case, so yeah, we've researched that now. We are a little bit behind on radar. That's going to be alright for now. More importantly, in the naval category, we have researched a new cruiser hull, and of course we are trying to use torpedo cruisers. We are not going to use that hull, but it does come with a new engine, and the new engine is, I think, very interesting because it does give us more max speed, and that is a fine thing to have. Right, so we are not going to use the cruiser, but we do want to use again the new engine. We have also researched, and here it gets very exciting, the advanced torpedo launcher, which is classified as a 3x 533mm torpedo launcher, which does of course give us more torpedo attack than the technology we had before. So that is a very important thing and core piece of our strategy. We have also discovered and researched improved medium batteries, so that does give us somewhat better main guns on our cruisers. Again, we are not really trying to do that, but it will be useful to try and smash smaller ships by the light attack that provides for us. Most importantly though, or one of the most important factors I consider, is the dual purpose secondary battery. So the secondary battery, we do have two choices here, and both of them do have both light attack and light piercing and anti-air attack. Personally, I do consider this one to be much more effective because it does give a lot of light attack, a lot of piercing, and the production costs are actually fairly decent. This one is a little bit less balanced, I think. It's a little bit better than anti-air, but well, 12.7mm is a very fine gun. By combining the duties of heavy anti-air guns and secondary battery, this is drastically boosting the anti-air capabilities of a ship, and that is fairly fantastic. So, I think that is a very good place to design new ships. We will be, of course, researching some of the other categories here as well, to get to the new, before we go into the war. In particular, we want to get more damage on our torpedoes, and do some firefighting drills and such. Even mine warfare might be improved and so on. Some of these ammunition types might be improved. But these are things that we don't have to incorporate into our designs. They're basically improved on ships that are already in existence. So that, I think, is very fine. All of this naval research does mean we have neglected our infantry a little bit, and our armor we haven't researched at all. Support companies are somewhat up to date. Engineering might be nice to research. Air warfare is somewhat behind, and that is why if we go to the research tab, you should see that we are researching quite a couple of things. Industry is somewhat on par. I found that I don't really think the improved oil processing is a good choice to research. If we do look at our fuel, you can see that from refineries we did build up a couple, but we're only getting 300 oil from that, whereas we're trading for 300 fuel. Whereas we are trading for 20 oil, and that does give us 1,000 fuel. So yeah, much better ratio there, and this line does improve that a little bit. So we're trying to do that. We just got a bonus for that. So yeah, I would like to see that. And you can see what we are researching right now. Better carrier fighters, the Zero, which we'll be using to support our advances. Better tactical bombers and better naval bombers. And hopefully all of these guys will be improving us a lot. And again, centrometric radar is also going to come in about 150 days. Actually, I think I should have gotten... Did I not get a bonus for coal liquidification? There was a research bonus there. I think I lost that. No way that should be taking... No. 215 days? That's too long. There was a bonus! I lost the bonus. That's no cool. That's not cool. Yeah, so let's go for excavation 3, because there are some important decisions to be had once you do develop excavation 3 in regards to getting more aluminium, some oil even, and some tungsten. Well, tungsten I don't care about, but aluminium and other things I do. So yeah, let's switch that around. Let's go to the naval designer then. And before we do that, maybe just as a note, we did build up quite a couple of convoys. I did stop building our ships about a year ago because I had all of these improvements coming in and I didn't want to build old ships. However, we do have 8 of these torpedo cruisers that we discussed last time with their whooping 135 torpedo attack, which is fairly good. But yeah, let's see whether we can't improve that design. So we are going to go to light cruisers. We are not going to deal with the outdated ones. And we should be able to see that we now have the 1940 cruiser hull available. So we could build a design around that. But the issue is that many of these slots cannot fit torpedoes. In fact, just 2 or 3 can really. So yeah, but we want to try out torpedoes, so we are going to use the basic platform of the Kamikaze class, and we're going to create a variant of that. So firstly, let's see how these stats change once we do, of course, upgrade to better torpedo launchers. Firstly, that will increase the costs, but I do think that's worthwhile, because again, we have now a whooping 45 torpedo attack increase, so about a third more, which I consider fairly excellent, to be honest. We're also going to pick the new engine. It's not that expensive, it does use a little bit more fuel, but it does improve the max speed by quite a bit, so by 1 knot and 30, so 5 percentage points. So yeah, I like to see that. The production costs do go up by about 70 or so. Well, let's call it 100 with all of the other modifiers, but I think that's alright for a faster torpedo. Yeah, for a faster ship. So we can also have a look at the battery. We did develop the new light cruiser battery. We could use the dual purpose main guns here, but you can see that it would decrease the light attack quite significantly and the health points actually. So I don't think that's worthwhile. It would increase the anti-air, yes, but I think on the main gun we should simply be using, instead of the light cruiser battery 2, we should use the light cruiser variant 3, which will give us quite a bit more light piercing and light attack, so I think this is a good upgrade. On the anti-air slot, we are of course gonna upgrade to better and newer anti-air, and that already is fairly fantastic. Over here we are of course gonna upgrade to better anti-air as well, and you can see this is all in all a much better ship. It's of course a more expensive ship by a significant amount, about 10%, but we do get 35% more torpedo attacks. We do get a little bit more light piercing, some more light attack, significantly better AA, so I'm happy about that design already. We are going to do more things though. On the secondaries over here, we are going to pick a dual purpose gun. And you can see that increases anti-air by a further 50%. And the light attack, it nearly doubles the light attack. Of course, again, it's another 300 points, so it's not cheap. It does increase the overall cost by about 10%. But decreasing the light attack to me seems very, very worthwhile. That basically does allow our ship to decimate basically enemy destroyers, and most importantly reduce the enemy screening ratio. If the enemy screening ratio goes down, our torpedoes will be able to penetrate their capital ships much more easily, so I think this is a fairly good design. We can also add radar to our build-up. It does cost another 100 points, but it also increases surface detection. Sub-detection I really don't care about, but surface detection I do, and that will allow us to hunt the enemy much more easily. And lastly, in terms of fire control, this is a little bit more complicated to me, because fire controls for whatever reason do reduce reliability. I do not know why. It does increase anti-air a little bit, it does increase light attack by about 10%, anti-air by 20%, but the reliability goes down, and again the costs go up, so I'm not too keen on this, to be honest. Maybe go for a small upgrade here. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think this is worthwhile. Let's stick with the fire control 0. Everything else is basically top notch, and that is fairly good. So we are gonna give it the weather names and start with the Hakazi class. So this is gonna be the Hakazi class, and I think it's a fairly good design. I'm very, very happy about this. Again, much more expensive, nearly 1,000 points more expensive than the Kamikaze class, but it is, and we're gonna just make sure that this is called a torpedo class cruiser. But yeah, I'm a little bit in love with this, guys. So yeah, let's make sure that we have all of this assigned. Yeah, so the Kamikaze is properly realized as an older one, and we should be able to see, actually, if we do go here, we should see that it is possible to upgrade these, but we're basically paying the same price. That's particularly because of the engine, so an engine upgrade does cost you quite a bit. So There's no way this is really worthwhile upgrading, but you can see all of these stats, and that I think is fairly fine. So you can see anti-air attack goes up significantly, max speed even goes up, light attack goes up, nearly doubles, torpedo attack a third more. So yes, I am extremely happy about this ship. We are gonna switch up over to building this ship, of course, so let's get rid of all of these guys and let's build, build and build, and we should be able to build at the very least quite a couple of these guys. So we do have 23 ones, so that's probably 7 per production line. Lovely. We are reducing here because we don't have enough steel, and that shouldn't be a problem. We can buy a lot of steel from Manchukuo. Yeah, so that's better. And since we are looking a little bit more from Gongsi Click, it would probably be a bad decision. But why not from the Soviet Union? Just for now, it's gonna be alright. Right, so, and now you're a little bit off in terms of timing. Now you'll be fine. Right, so these are being built. They're still taking quite a while, so they can produce what? So that does take what? 2 units a year, so a little bit over half a year. So we should be able to get at least 6 of these bad boys in before the war, which we are going to look in to start somewhat in time as happened historically. I do want to reuse the naval yards that are capable of repairing a little bit, just so that these guys are prioritized all the time very strongly. And yeah, now they are lined, so that's good to see. We don't really need that much artillery, so we are going to switch around over here a little bit. And I think this is actually a modern fighter, so you know what, let's drop down the artillery a little bit, and up it goes here. That's fine. We do need more chromium, so Manchukuo, I realize, does have quite some of that, so that should be alright, and more or less settle that. Good. We do have 2 more free dockyards, and what I would like to do at some point is upgrade our battleships. So just let's go through that just to see what would happen. This is currently our best battleship, and it's really old. You can see Type 1 main battery, a float plane, but not really anything exciting. So if we were to upgrade that, we can't really touch the armor, we shouldn't really touch the engine, but we could go ahead for the dual purpose guns down here, which would give us a lot more anti-air, and that's fairly good. We should also be able to add another secondary battery, another dual purpose gun, and basically some better anti-air guns over here, and that already would be a fairly good choice. We can also upgrade our aircraft facilities, give us a little bit more surface detection, and potentially go for better fire control, I would say. Yeah, I mean the reliability goes down, but still, and a better radar dish would certainly be fairly good. So this is not a much more expensive ship. This is just about, well, 900 or so more expensive. Of course, the upgrade itself would be much more costly. The speed would go down slightly, reliability by quite a bit, but the light attack very significantly, light piercing, anti-air would be much better, heavy attack would be somewhat better, and surface detection considerably so. We could also fill in the last slot over here with more anti-air guns, and that would really truly put us in a good position in regards to anti-air. So I think this would be a fairly good upgrade. I'm not going to hit save on that right now, because I do actually want to wait until we get the new armor installation, the new radar installation, so that we can use that. We could have a look at our carrier though. So yeah, it probably makes sense to upgrade you at some point with dual purpose guns, so that you'd have better anti-air, upgrade the anti-air itself, upgrade you with radar. So yeah, I think this would be a fairly nice decision. By the way, I'm still waiting on your guys' input on whether I should take the kilobyte and do some save game editing, because again, there is really a bug. So if we compare these two soldier classes, you can see one of them has a deck size of 40, one of them has a deck size of 60. This one I upgraded from a previous design, and I paid the full 2,000 costs to upgrade that from the, what was it, Ruju class, which only has 2 hangars. Upgrading that to soldier class does mean spending 2,000 production costs to get the new hangar deck in, but ultimately it just didn't give me more hangars, it just gave me the deck space that is there. To me that's very clearly a bug, but yeah, if you guys think differently, do let me know, and I think that should be fine. I also realized that we do have way too few naval yards, so you know what, let's actually build up some more so that we can produce our torpedo ships a little bit more quickly. And we will prioritize these somewhat above the radar installations, because again they should be fairly easy to conclude. And once we do have Guangxi click, I think we should also make a little bit more in terms of our factories there. Right, other than that, we did upgrade the Navy quite a bit, so all of these destroyers have been upgraded to a proper anti-submarine warfare capability. We also went ahead and took one of these destroyers to turn it into a minesweeper, which might come in handy at some point, but we'll have to see about that. We also have the reserve fleet over here, so that's okay. So you know what, I think what I'm actually going to do in the production tab is produce more convoys. Right, so that we do have some overflow buffer, and I think that should be alright. The divisions don't really care about that, the insufficient resources I do. Yeah, so we do have a couple of minutes left, so we could start the game. You can see I'm working on a fairly fast time scale over here, but yeah, other than that, you know, Europe seems to be fine. We are gaining some experience from the German activities there. Our decisions are pending. We are getting upgrades on our Air Force, so that is nice to see. And yeah, very soon we will probably end up in war. So yeah, again, I'm probably going to upgrade our battleships once we do get to centrometric radar. I don't think we will be able to get to improved centrometric radar, which would of course be even nicer, but yeah, we really have to commit at some point. We also have to research quite a bit of naval technologies, although not that many of these do give you a bonus to light cruisers, so we can be a little bit more conservative there. At some point we do want to get better destroyers and potentially a depth charge mortar. We also, one of the areas that I do find where we are lacking a little bit is in proper screening ships for our main capital ships. So all of these are Type 1 light cruisers. It is tempting to upgrade them, but all in all, it's very difficult to actually get a valid design that does work on this basis. And you know what, we are two ahead on cruiser technology. So you can build a really good fleet cruiser around this design for a cost that isn't that significantly different from actually upgrading one of the older ones. So yeah, we are probably not gonna spend too much resources on that, since really we do want to go for the torpedo layout. So we are gonna have 20 or so of the light cruisers as we go to war, and I do hope that we will be able to deal damage to American battleships. But yeah, I think I'm going to play ahead a little bit. Guangxi Click is not going to be that interesting. And then we'll probably see each other once again when there is either very new interesting naval technology developments, something really interesting happens in the game, or when we go to war against the US. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I see you guys around. Do like, do subscribe, all of that. And yeah, see you tomorrow, guys. Bye bye.